What's up, YouTube? What's up, Steelers Nation? Welcome to episode 18 of the WattsCast, and we're discussing the post-game reaction of Steelers versus Eagles, and it's a tough game all around. We were simply beat by a better team, but we were also dealing with a lot of injuries to key players. Deshaun Elliott, which I've been praising him all season, he was out. George Pickens was out, and Larry Ogunjobi was out. So we had three big pieces missing, and I honestly really wanted to see how we matched up against the Eagles at full strength. But coming into the week, sort of limping into the week, I knew it was going to be a tough journey because Philadelphia, they're just a really good team. They only lost two games all season. It was early in the year. They were winners of nine straight. This was their 10th straight win, and they have an MVP candidate with Saquon Barkley. So it was a tall task, tough task from the very get go. But I mean, I know we started off really slow. I think we had like five three and outs in a row. Philly was driving with ease up and down the field. We were able to kind of clamp up a little bit whenever they would get into scoring range. And to start the game, I mean, our team, our defensive special teams made plays. You know, TJ Watt punched the ball out from Jalen Hurts. Mark Robinson got a forced fumble on a punt return. I think it was a punt return, forced the fumble. We just weren't able to do anything with it. Philly's defense is very good. They have some really big boys up front on their defensive seven. They have a lot of guys from Georgia. They're just a solid unit. They just are. And the Steelers, I think they fought hard. I think we clawed hard, and up until what was it, the third quarter, it was 20-13. We were driving. We had the flea flicker to Calvin Austin gets us in range for a scoring drive, and Russ pitches the ball. Najee takes his eye off the ball for a split second, drops it, bounces, ricochets, goes in front of him, and the Eagles got the ball back, and that essentially was the game. From that point forward, they scored off of our turnover. They scored a touchdown. It's a 14-point swing, potentially going from 20-20, even 16-20 if we kick the field goal, to 27 to 13. So it was a 14-point swing. We didn't get our 7 points. They got the 7 points. That pretty much sealed the game. But I was looking for some big games from a couple of people. Calvin Austin, I'll pull up the numbers here. Let's use this camera. Whoop, this one here. Calvin Austin ended up having a solid day. 5 catches for 65 yards, along at 31 on that flea flicker. I was also looking for Pat Fryermuth to be more involved, because one of the things that the Eagles tend to give up a little bit more is on the inside opposed to outside on the numbers. And Pat Fryermuth did have a good play. He ran like a little inside 7 route when we got down near the goal line. Short-handed catch, grabbed the ball, went down, scored a touchdown. It was a very good play. Russ, unfortunately, didn't have his best game, but I mean, he hardly had the ball. He was 14 for 22, which that percentage isn't terrible, but only 128 yards. He did have the touchdowns, no picks, and got sacked twice for 21 yards. So he ended up having a 94.5 QB rating, or is this the QB rating? I don't know how to decipher those. I'm not going to lie to you. Not his best game, but it wasn't terrible. We probably ended up throwing the ball more than 30 times if we were able to get the ball back. But a decision I didn't agree with at the time was deciding to punt the ball back to Philadelphia down 2 scores. I get that the defense had been playing pretty well up to that point. But you just saw how easily they can move the ball. They have a very strong running game with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. And then if they get into third and shorts or fourth and shorts, then they'll just tush push it, which they did. And they ended up killing like literally 10 minutes of game clock in their last drive, and we just never saw the ball again. Our running game was very pedestrian. Najee had 6 carries for 14 yards, which is really rough. Russ had 4 carries for 13 yards. Jalen only got 4 carries. He had 12 yards. Cordell Patterson, 2 carries for 9 yards. And then Justin Fields had the 1 carry for 8 yards. Picked up good yards, but he got whacked at the end of the game. He ended up getting hurt, and he ended up being out for the rest of the game. So it was just tough coming into this week. This is a week where to beat this type of team, we needed to have all of our guys. We needed to be at full strength to match their full strength because they are very limited on their injuries. I think they have one guy out. I think their tight end was out. But other than that, everybody else was healthy. So in order for us to compete with a team like this, we needed all our big guns, and the guys who played did everything they could. T.J. Watt had he had a forced fumble and 2 sacks before he got hurt. Cam Hayward was a little quiet this game. I know that Patrick Queen, although he did make some plays, everybody's going to remember him and Joey Porter missing the tackle on Gainwell, allowing him to pick up first on third, where they threw the ball behind the sticks, and somehow they still were able to pick up the first down. It's just they were making all the timely plays, man. They were converting all their third downs while we were struggling, and they were putting the ball in the end zone while we were kicking field goals. It was just tough. It was a tough game, and Philly's a very good team. One thing we were able to do pretty well was keep Saquon Barkley in check compared to Saquon Barkley normal numbers. 19 carries for 65 yards, only had only averaged 3.4 a carry. The D line was really stepping up. Minka caught him in the backfield a couple times and made some really big tackles on him, flipped him over a couple times, and ended up having him. I don't think he played the last 6 or 7 minutes of the second quarter or the third quarter. I can't remember. It's probably had a lot to do with some of those Minka hits, and he ended up finishing the game strong, helped to run out the clock for him. But we did a good job there. But this team is a pick your poison team because you come down here and look at these numbers. A.J. Brown, 8 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown. He was cooking Dante Jackson. I like Dante Jackson. I think he's a very good corner. I just don't think it was a good matchup for him. I think that Joey Porter probably should have mirrored him. And then vice versa with Devonta Smith. He had 11 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown. These dudes were eating. This would have been a better matchup for Dante Jackson because this dude's more of a fast, shifty, small body receiver. He's very good. Don't get it twisted. And then Gainwell, I think all 3 of these catches were on third down, and he converted all 3 third downs. So it was just rough. We put our defense in a tough predicament having them out on the field so much. The Eagles dominated the time of possession. It wasn't even close. It was damn near double. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was bad. And then you flip over here without George Pickens, it was just really rough. You don't see Mike Williams on here at all, which is very. Oh no, I lied. Here he is. 1 catch for 15 yards. Okay, so he did have a quote unquote explosive play, but I just really wish we had more opportunity for this guy. This is part of the reason why when we traded for him, I thought we should get somebody who was more shifty and more of a route runner type guy, so he would have more opportunity and be able to do a little bit more opposed to Mike Williams, who's more of a deep threat guy. But with him and George, I think it works. Calvin and Pat in the middle. But with him taking George's spot, I think he can do it. He just doesn't get a lot of opportunity. So you see our receiving numbers are very pedestrian. Van Jefferson had 1 catch for 0 yards. I don't know how you do that. You don't gain a yard or lose a yard. It's just completely 0. So that's impressive. But yeah, man, it's just tough, and I think it's kind of crazy that they counted this fumble towards Russ. He tossed the ball, hit Najee right in the chest. I believe Najee would tell you that he got to catch that ball. It's just sometimes you're looking up to make a move because the way we had that blocked, there was nobody near him when he dropped the ball. He had 3 chances to try to recover it before the other team got to it, so he might have had some room to work with, but unfortunately, you take your eye off the ball for a split second to plan your next move. A lot of times, what happens is that ball hits the ground, and unfortunately for us, it was a live ball, so that was kind of the end of it. But Pat had one where he fumbled, but he got it right back. I don't really think that was that big of a deal. Um, and then for Philly, like we talked about, TJ forced the one on Jalen Hurts, and then Mark Robinson forced the one on Cooper DeJean on that punt return. And you come down here, our defensive numbers don't look bad, but they were on the field so much. And one issue was with shoot with Deshaun Elliott being out, Minka actually came up and played in the box. So we saw a lot more of Minka, looked a lot more like old Minka coming up and being disruptive, making plays. But that left Demonte KZ on the back end, which I think he's a fine player. I think he's just fine. But you saw a couple plays where, the running back or whoever would get past the first line of defense, and Demonte KZ had to try to make a tackle. He did make a couple of them, but one of them he missed and allowed another, 10, 15, 20 yards on the play before anybody was able to catch up to him and tackle him. So, this just wasn't our best game. The good thing is that even though we lost, I think the Dolphins and the Colts both lost. So we officially punched our ticket into the playoffs, which is awesome to say at this point in the season because, as we know, there's a lot of times in years past where, it's coming down to the last week of the season. We have to win. We need so-and-so to lose. We need so-and-so to win. We don't got to worry about none of that shit this year. The only thing we really got to worry about is this game coming up on Saturday against Baltimore. We really, really want to win that game. That way we can clinch the division, get a home playoff game, and make our road in the playoffs easier. So if there was a game for, some of our players to kind of, maybe not be able to play, would be this one compared to Baltimore. Would I like to see the team win this game? Of course. Would I like to see our guys look really good against one of the best teams in the league? Of course. But, unfortunately, it doesn't always go that way. This is an out-of-conference game, so it doesn't really hurt us so much on the standings other than the win-loss record. But we have a chance to correct this on Saturday, get the win against Baltimore. We traditionally play really good in Baltimore. We traditionally play really good against Lamar Jackson. That man's coming off a 5-touchdown game where you have more touchdowns than incomplete passes. Granted, it was against the Giants, but we had a decent game against the Giants. It wasn't to that extent. So we all know who Baltimore is. We know how great they are. We know how great Derrick Henry is. We know how great Lamar Jackson is. We just got to come in and play our game and do what we do, and we can leave out of that game not only with the win, but with ownership of the AFC North, where everybody thought we were going to finish last. We can officially stamp it that we are going to be finishing first. So that's really all I got. Oh, no, the other thing I got to mention was the penalties were so bad. The Zach Frazier tripping one was like, okay, whatever. His leg raised up. He did tripping, whether it's intentional or not, it doesn't matter. But the play where Darnell Washington blocked Darius Slade through the back of the end zone into the wall, maybe don't do that, but at the same time, it's hard for me to be mad about a guy finishing a block and playing through the whistle. I can't be mad at that. And you could see it on TV. You could see Darius Slade throwing punches, which I don't really blame you if you got a dude that big just driving you to the wall and he won't stop. Like, I don't know, maybe I would start swinging too. But they threw both flags on us. They threw one on Darnell Washington on sportsmanlike. Then they threw one on Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin is probably the smallest person on the field, and they threw a flag on him instead of throwing offset and penalties. We were damn near in scoring range at that point. We were putting together a really decent drive at that point, and that ruined it, and we ended up having to kick a field goal instead of trying to get the touchdown. And we didn't really see that many penalties or any penalties on Joey Porter Jr. this week, which is good. AJ Brown was just kind of just muscling through people. He's just so big, man. It's like I can't even be mad at our guys. That dude is a monster. I'm a big fan of AJ Brown. But on the other side, TJ Watt gets held damn near every play. even against Lane Johnson, one of the premier tackles in the league, Hall of Famer. You see TJ Watt getting hell. He's just getting hell around the neck, around the helmet, and they just don't call the shit. I think we only got maybe 1 or 2 holding calls on the day. That's got to be better. The NFL's got to do something to get more spotlight on how bad the holding is on our guys. I know they can't call it every single play, but if it's third down, if the only reason that they got the conversion for the first down or threw the ball in the end zone like Jameis Winston did a couple times is because they ran past TJ Watt, who's being held, and escaped, that shit shouldn't count, man. It just you gotta throw the flag. Not saying the play shouldn't count, but like you gotta throw the flag, and that brings the play back. You know what I mean? So it's just frustrating. So I'm not gonna harp on it too much. This was a bad game. There were some positive things that we can take away from this. We got to get healthy, and we got to play our game against Baltimore. Coach Tomlin needs to call a better game as far as clock management and use the timeouts a little bit better. Maybe be a little bit more aggressive if it calls for it. I get, you got a good defense. You want to rely on them, but don't ask too much of one particular unit at one particular time. We're a team. We complement each other well. We have great pieces on all 3 levels of the fields: offense, defense, and special teams. So the toss play, I've never been a fan of the toss play, but I'm starting to kind of come around to it just because we've had some recent success. But something like that happens, it makes you want to just scrap it, just run power, or just do something else, hand the ball off. I'm still a big fan of Arthur Smith. I think he's a good coordinator, and I think he's the best coordinator we've had in here maybe since, was it Ken Wisenhunt, or not even Ken Wisenhunt, Bruce Arians. That Ben was a big fan of him before he went to, where did he go to? I think he went to the Cardinals. I'm pretty sure, because it seemed like all of our offensive coordinators would get hired as head coaches and go to the Cardinals, and I think that's where I got Ken Wisenhunt confused. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Steelers Nation, the world's not ending, the sky's not falling. Your Steelers are 10-4. We can definitely still finish the season strong, and if we're healthy, I like our chances against anybody in the AFC, man. So, the Bills are on another level, but I think we could be on another level too when we're clicking. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. If you did enjoy this video, I appreciate you. I appreciate you sticking through. Please like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment if you agree with anything I said. If you think I'm an idiot, just go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know, like, hey, dude, you're a big dumb asshole. That's fine. But I do want to thank you, Steelers Nation. Let's beat Baltimore this week coming up. Let's get back on the winning track, and let's win this division. All right. GG's.